Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat O. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was fucking god awful. What are you talking about?
Great.
What are you talking about? It fucking sucked. Probably the worst. This was like my worst week. Uh, I gotta say, like in recent history, outside of like my kid being in the NICU when he was born or something like that. Um, it was a testament to my mental health. Um, so last weekend, Friday night in Canton. Let's rewind the clock. We're gonna do a Fast and the Furious here. We're gonna retcon something that we already went over before. Last Friday night, me and you were driving around Canton, and I know that I pointed this out to you. I said my car's making weird noises, and you're like, yeah. And then we didn't hear it, and I'm like, okay, never mind, it's fine. Well, on the drive home, I started to hear it more and more, and then Sunday I heard it more and more. So I went and I tried to take my car to the mechanic on Tuesday, and Wednesday, they informed me that there was shit wrong with my car, and that they weren't going to be able to fix it themselves. So they had me bring it to the dealership. So I did that right away, and the dealership was kind of like, "Well, we might be able to get it back to you by Friday morning." And spoiler alert, we're recording this on Monday, June 12th, and I just got it back about 2 hours ago. So didn't make it to Withville, and because I did not make it to Withville, will not be making it to the Chicago Paranormal Convention, because the whole idea was to take the merch from and the booth stuff from Withville back with me, and then do the Chicago Paranormal Convention next weekend, and that's not going to happen. I might still show up, but we will not be vending. Um, and was my wife's mom is having some health issues, which I know I told you about previously. So she had already left to go spend the week with her. So I was stuck home alone for the past, like, literally week, 6 days with no car and nobody here. Um, and while 10-foot tall aliens are walking around backyards in fucking Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I was out of my goddamn mind. It was terrible. I couldn't sleep at night. There was no cars in the driveway, so I was afraid that people were going to think that my house was like I was on vacation or something, and then like I was a target for break-ins and shit. So I'm walking around with a fucking 9mm on my hip the whole time. It was just trying not to just smoke weed and get fucked up the whole time, because that only makes it worse. It was not a good weekend for me. was this was not a good couple days. Oh, and I just spent $3,500 on my fucking car. So like, yeah, it was man, it fucking sucked. But by the time we're done recording this episode, my wife and child will be home. I have my car back already. Um so that's good. I did get to go out for a little bit. I went out with some friends Friday night. They came and picked me up, and we went out to this bar that's built into a laundromat by my house, and got drunk. And then Saturday, so my side business had already sponsored a golf hole at this fundraiser thing that the bars in our area do, where every bar builds like a little mini golf hole, and then you go bar crawling and you go play mini golf at all the different things. And I had sponsored a hole like months ago just to do it, to help my buddies. Actually, Kristen, who's a fan of the show, um, she's a philanthropist, and she was doing this. So Saturday, I was like, well, I don't have anything to do, and we already sponsored this fucking golf hole. So I went and I did that, and it was good to get out and kind of have a little bit of an adventure. So that was good. But yeah, man, this really fucking put me through the ringer. Um,
Yeah.
I was very isolated and paranoid,
Well,
and
you're
my sleep.
paranoid, period. You need to calm down.
I mean, yeah, but it's entertaining when I like channel it towards the shit like what we do here. I think you got to remember, like, that is the catch 22 of living your life being all into fucking UFOs and cryptids and conspiracies and all this shit, is that like you can't live in that rabbit hole. And that's like kind of what I was not. I won't say that's like all I was doing was upset. Trust me, if that was true, then I'd be way better prepared for today's show than I am. But like, it was just, it was just fucking. I made a choice to be married and have children and be this type of person. And then like when all of that stuff wasn't there, then I'm just back to being like a single dude, but I'm not really a single dude because like when I was a single dude, like there was single chicks around. You know what I mean? And I don't really have that anymore. I don't know anybody. I have friends, but all my friends are older and shit. And it's like I don't know, we're getting like so far off topic. It was just how was with Phil? let's just switch gears back to that. I will say this though, it was a low point. It was a very, very, very low point for me. But we all have those, and I want to share this. I just wanted to kind of spend a minute talking about that because I would just, hey, we all have bad days. We all go through rough patches. I just went through one. I'll be fine. I'm coming out of it. I don't need thoughts and prayers or nudes or anything. But like, if you are going through a rough patch, you know, uh, figure out what you need and do it. I needed to go out. I need to go out drinking with buddies and just kind of get out of the house or go play mini golf, whatever. Appreciate what you have. Hold on to what keeps you sane, and always carry a gun with you. That's all I
Amen.
got. So how's Whitfield? Tell me all about it. What I miss?
Whistle's great. I mean, it was great last year. It was
You can rub it in. It's fine. It's fine. Just
great this year.
yeah.
No, I mean, we got in super fucking late, so there was that, but it wasn't a bad drive, and then we went to the event on Saturday, and that was fantastic. So they did a little under 4,000 people. The year before that, they had done a little under 1,800 people. So
Wow.
clearly, it's still going strong. It didn't feel like. Okay, don't get me wrong. Monster Fest was great, right? Monster Fest was great, but the event itself was pretty overwhelming. And this wasn't like that. I don't know why. I'm not sure what the difference is between the two events. I don't know how you can crowd control, I guess, like that. I don't know. But I don't know. It just didn't feel as busy, or which I guess I don't know exactly how many people attended Monster Fest, but I know I made more money this weekend than I did at Monster Fest, and maybe that's just the climate of the people. I have no idea. I don't know. But it still felt very chill, very good vibes. Lots of people, that, came out that, listened to the show already. So that kind of sucked because we want new listeners, right? So, but no, it was exciting. Some people came out because they heard us talking about it on the show. That was really cool.
Awesome.
Always great to meet fans. And then always great to get new listeners. Some people are like, oh, I'll definitely listen. And then just networking with people in general. There were a couple of folks there that, I ended up being able to network with. And then other people that I, didn't really know very well that I got to know a little bit better, which is always nice.
Hmm.
And then, of course, Robin and Brian are just fucking fantastic human beings. Like they are the weirdo power couple that I aspire to be one day. With myself, apparently. But it just
Get you
worked.
a rockabilly dude.
I know, right? Look, I've been trying to find me a rockabilly dude since I was like 12. Okay, it just hasn't worked out yet.
That's not hyperbole either.
Yeah,
That's
very true. It's been my life's mission. Maybe I want it too bad. But anyway, no, they're just again wonderful people. I can't really think of anything else that was really worthy or notable. You just got to go. Ann and I were talking. We were talking about how it kind of sucks. We go to these things and then really, we have time to like go to the event and see the people at the event and whatever, but we don't really have time to like explore. Like it would be really nice to explore Virginia.
Hmm.
Fuck, we already made the 5.5 hour drive. It was 5.5 hours driving in, but for some reason it was only 4 hours and 45 minutes driving back home. That was weird, but
Hmm.
whatever. But still, I mean, you make that whole drive and then you're just working. That's one thing about these things. My mom seems to think that I go on these luxurious vacations all the time, and she doesn't realize that these things are work. It's still exhausting, and you can like your job, right? But it's still your job. So I'm very, 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 very tired still. Doing back to back conventions is man, it's hard, and I'm just getting older. So, but it was good. I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, all right.
It was a great time.
You got some news? I mean, well, do you want? I mean, what else could we do from here? Well, we're not doing the Chicago one. Do you guys party? Daniel was there. I feel bad I missed him.
Yeah,
Um,
Daniel was there. We partied. We all went to initially the same brewery we went
did you do the
to.
drag show thing
No,
afterwards?
we didn't.
No. Okay.
Um, so they kicked us all out. We did go there and to that the same brewery we went to last year. Um, but they kicked us all out for the drag show unless we wanted to buy a ticket, which is like $10 a person. And there was a lot of us, and not everybody wanted to stay for the drag show just because we all wanted to hang out with each other. So
Hmm.
we went to a different bar. So first we were at Seven Sisters Brewery, and then we
Hmm.
went down to Seven Dogs. I don't know what the thing is with the sevens and Whipple,
Sure.
but yeah. And then we finished the night out there. We went back. I mean, hell, I think we were in bed by midnight.
Did the
Honestly,
bar close at midnight, or you guys everyone just left at midnight?
I think we were just tired and wanted to go home.
Yeah.
So we just actually, yeah, I think the bar did close at midnight. So I think it was shut down. I don't know. At that point, I was drunk. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, the mini golf thing, it was fun. It started at noon on Saturday, and you have a beer at each bar. And my golfing partner, my friend Janine, she's a White Claw drinker, so we were drinking White Claws at each bar, and we were having fun. But like, come 6 o'clock, it's like, okay, we've been doing this for 6 hours, right? She's got to drive back to the burbs, so she left. I stuck around like another hour or so. Um, and then I went home, but I was home by 7. I was in bed by 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? Um, when you start kind of drinking early, or it's a long day, you can't. It's not going to be a long night. You know what I mean? It's one or the other, and that's always kind of a bummer. But I don't know. What do you miss being wasted at 3 in the morning? What'd you miss out on? Nothing. You
Yeah,
did everything. Yeah.
everybody was tired. It's just the way it's the way it was. And fucking Robin's trying to get everybody trashed on this alien tequila, and
They brought the alien tequila back.
oh yeah, the alien
Nice.
tequila was there, and she just kept. She's like, I had my classic rum and coke because the breweries there, none of them have liquor licenses apparently, and
Mm.
so she's like, do you want me to put some tequila in that? I'm like, no. Like, I'd like to live enough to make it back home tomorrow. No. But Anne had a great time. Anne partied her little self hard, so that was good for her. She doesn't normally get to. And she really enjoyed the fact that everything's like right next to each other. Um, so that was nice. But anyway, but yeah, it was good. It was a good time. I was totally fine with going to bed early because we still had a 5 hour drive ahead of us the next day. So I was just, by the end of this weekend, I'm just totally done,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be home. So there's that. But yeah, I can get into some news. I mean, that's. Did you have anything else you want to talk about this weekend?
No.
Oh,
Let me check my notes. No, 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 no. If you're playing Diablo 4, let me know if it's good or not, because I was almost going to download that a couple times, but I didn't. Um, so yeah, that's it. I
okay.
beat Dredge. Dredge was good. Gray Hill Incident, I thought was going to come out. That's the alien abduction first person shooter. And it ended up not dropping for the consoles until this week. It hit the PCs on Friday, but they delayed the console edition. And I'm kind of glad, because if I had been sitting around playing that, that would have probably even further propelled me into mental illness. So,
Well, let's talk about that then. Let's go to that incident there because everybody and their mother, which I like that this is what people do with me now. It's really neat. But everybody and their mother has contacted me about this Las Vegas incident.
yeah, let me just say this, guys. Don't, be cognizant of what time it is. Don't text me this shit if it's dark out. If you want to send it to me during the day, awesome. I'll read it fine. But, don't send it to me at 10 o'clock at night, because I'm laying in bed and I don't need to look at this shit before I go to bed. You know what I
Someone
mean?
send it
Because
to
it
you at
makes
10
me
o'clock at
think
night.
it makes me think that I manifest them or something. I don't know. I don't need that. And I had so many people sending me this fucking story, and I'll let you do your thing and we can discuss it. But just if it's dark out, don't send me creepy stuff, please. Thank you.
Just like I said, for the record, yeah, Pato is he's got very lots of paranoia, and I'm not gonna dig too deeply into that part, but shit freaks him out, and there must be a good reason for it. And if you want to know that reason, you can go back and listen to
Subscribe to the Patreon.
yeah, you can subscribe to the Patreon. It's on there. Or go back and listen to one of our earlier episodes where Pato talks about his own experiences with this kind of stuff. So, anyway, back in April, a bunch of people had seen this strange blue green light in the sky, fallen from the sky. Okay, and that same night, allegedly, a family claimed to have 10-foot tall creatures in their backyard, and they called the
Mm-hmm.
cops on the creatures because they thought that they were doing a crime in the backyard. So and the police came out and nothing was there. Okay. This has now evolved into like a ton of other things. So allegedly there is video evidence of the incident.
No, that's fake.
Well, that's not
Are you talking
true.
about the alien in the backyard or the officer's like body cam?
Well, all of it. So there is videos of the blue light, right? Which I think that that's obviously clearly something that happened.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
I think that's a meteor, personally, because I've seen one of those, and we had one here in Dayton, Ohio, on Halloween, like not last year, but the year before, I believe. That's my best guess as to what that could be. Then there is video of supposedly the aliens in the backyard, but I have now seen two of them. One is like from either a security camera or a trail cam or something, and there's this ugly humanoid thing crouching, and you can see it pretty clearly and whatever.
Right,
So that footage, first of all, can't be the footage, because it's dated for May
right.
23rd.
Yes.
Second of all, I don't know what it's from, but it's clearly not real. Like it's very obviously not real.
It
Um,
I'm going to say something that I've brought up before when we talk about some of these cryptids. That being does not look like it's capable of interstellar travel. That the way that they are portraying that creature, the way it's kind of crouching around and it looks very feral and animalistic, does not look like it just stepped off a fucking spaceship. Right.
yeah,
It's like a special effects thing. People picked apart the fence in the background. It doesn't match the fence and the body cam footage when they're interviewing the people
right.
before they go into the backyard. There's holes all over the place. Yeah, that footage is fake. I didn't know there was other footage though. This is news to
Yes.
me.
So, however, there is the real video, which shows the family who are speaking some type of language, which is interesting because nobody can even seem to pinpoint the language that's family speaking. They're like, it's not Spanish, it's not Portuguese. They're trying to figure it out so that they can translate it. But it's very obviously at least two men and a woman holding the camera. And so in this yard, it's not just like somebody's fucking backyard. It's like there's like bulldozers out in the backyard. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know what it is exactly, but it's not just your all American backyard. And so they're like the one guy like has his gun out. They've got flashlights. They're kind of like they're like at the fence and the gate, and they're like opening the gate, and they're like kind of peeking in, but then they get scared and they kind of run back, and whatever. So supposedly in that video, you can see the beings, things, but you can't really see them because they're kind of far away. So like you can see one kind of peeks out around one of the bulldozers, and then the other one's like kind of standing next to one of the bulldozers, and people have blown up the image to try to make sense of it. And to me, does it look like a typical gray? Well, it kind of does actually. It looks like there's a big old head, two big old eyes, alien face. But that could very easily be pareidolia just because of the zoom that has to happen in order for you to even see anything at all. So I don't know, but it is the same family, and we know that because we can see the police officer's body cam footage, and you see some those same people in that footage. So that's the actual video. Again, nobody's been able to translate the video yet, which is fucking weird. Um, the the kid in the family, which is not like a kid, he's like a teenager, maybe even a young adult. I'm not entirely sure. Has now started a YouTube channel about the whole situation,
Yeah, I saw that.
which I haven't
That
watched at all.
I I honestly I couldn't. I was too freaked out too.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I was just bored. I'm bored with it. You know,
Right.
there's, is it real? I don't fucking know. I have no idea.
So here's what I mean. I knew we were going to be talking about this, and I thought about what I was going to say. So here's the most that I think that I could offer up about this situation. Right. Some people criticized the family. We know that we know the first part's legit. We know that something obviously there was a light in the sky, something was seemingly falling to earth. That was picked up on the body cam of an officer at like a traffic stop, completely unrelated. We know that that's true. Okay. And that's the reason that they saw it, the police officer saw that. That's why when they get the call on the radio for the alien in the backyard, they go and they investigate it. Otherwise, and the officer even says, normally I would have just laughed something like this off, but my partner says he saw this thing and we're going to check it out now, right? So the question is whether or not those people that called the police are telling the truth. Okay. Because
Yeah.
everything up until that point, we kind of have like more or less established as true. Right. But like you said, what that flash in the sky, that could have been a meteor. But I would think if it was Starlink, if it was something easy like that, that would have been come out in conjunction with this story. Right. So maybe it was something, maybe it wasn't. But there's not a smoking gun, a quick, easy answer that it was something meteorological, right? So I heard a lot of people's kind of take shots at the family for not recording the aliens, right? For not doing more on their end to document what they were seeing. And the only thing I'll say is this: is that you know I was at Monster Fest for 2 days and I took like 7 pictures, and that was it. I've been in high pressure situations at work where equipment is failing and things are blowing up, and I don't always grab my phone and take pictures of things. I think that we need to stop telling witnesses that they lose credibility because their first instinct wasn't to pick up a camera and start recording. We are not, found footage movies are not reality. Okay. Found footage movies are a complete and total construct of fantasy because most normal people would not behave like that in those situations. Blair Witch, they would not spend the whole entire time walking around in the woods with a fucking camera, right? People would have put down the camera and they would have picked up the map and they would try to figure out how to get the fuck out of the woods. Okay. So we do not live in a found footage movie. All right. So the fact that like those people were on their phone and they were using the phone to call 911 and not using their phone to try to videotape what they were seeing, that makes sense to me. Or at least it doesn't make them out to be liars. I think we need, and that's all I can really say about this. It's the only thing I really have to add to this thing is that even though we live in an era where everyone's got a camera in their pocket, it's not everyone's first instinct to pick it up and start recording when something remarkable happens in front of them. You know what I mean? Or at least that's my 2 cents. So
I mean, I definitely criticize them for not getting better footage, but the fact that they did attempt to do so um, lended a little bit more credibility to it to me. And but the motive doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I watched this YouTuber. His name's Todd Grande, Dr. Todd Grande, and Dr. Grande. Uh,
sure, that's his Christian name.
that's his name. That's really his name. He's a psychologist. Typically the things that he covers are like true crime cases and things like that. Just kind of, he says, obviously I can't diagnose anybody, but here's my analysis of this situation. Well, he did it on this event as well. He's done it for other UFO cases. I don't know why, but he's extremely skeptical, clearly, and he was kind of cracking jokes about it, about them being backyard aliens because they're not obviously not front yard aliens, and um, but it kind of makes you think about the fact that like, what would be the point of this? Like, why would an alien just come land in your backyard? For what reason? And then not try to make any type of contact with you whatsoever, and then just leave. Fuck off. Know that you called the police, and know that then that now they need to leave. Like, why would that happen?
I mean, you're making a lot of assumptions when you ask that question like that. Well, he is Mr. Grande. I'm sorry. Um, you're assuming that the aliens landed by choice, and there wasn't some kind of malfunction or something. We're seeing all these stories in the news about the United States government retrieving crashed saucers or whatever, crashed aircraft or craft or whatever. So obviously something must bring these things down periodically. Um, these things are not infallible, right?
Well,
So
then where'd they
maybe
go?
what?
Then where'd they go if they weren't in the backyard?
Oh, why did they not stick around?
Right. Like if they so if let's just say they crashed here, okay, so then they're in someone's backyard. Well then where did they go? You're telling me that these people are outside screaming and fucking hollering about aliens being in their yards and the neighbors weren't coming out to come witness any of this? So what, they just fucking walked off the scene and rode off into the sunset without being seen? They're 10 foot tall.
I listen. I don't know. I
Sure.
don't know. I mean, could they? Once again, we're making a lot of assumptions about how these things operate. Where that like, could they? Could was their craft temporarily downed and they walked out of something and then a couple seconds later they activated some kind of secondary teleportation device. If you want me to write a plot line that makes sense about why they weren't there, I can do that. I've seen enough science fiction movies to be able to pull some bullshit out of my ass. I don't know the rules of this universe. I don't know how this shit works, and none of us do. Neither does Dr. Grande, right? So like, the fact that like this stuff doesn't seem to make sense, you're talking about fucking aliens. It's not gonna make sense. There's gonna be question marks because we don't have all the answers. Were these people making things up? Yeah, maybe. Was this a prank call to the police department? Well, that's one way to spend your evening, is to call 911 for some crazy bullshit. Just see what the cops do. Um, if I was a person of color in today's America, I would recommend you not do that if you have the option. I would think that if someone's going to call 911 and report something like that, at least they have to think that something's actually happening. Otherwise, why are you going to swat yourself? You know what I mean? Now, once again, but that doesn't mean, just because it doesn't seem to make sense that someone would call the police to their residence with a manufactured threat, that doesn't mean that that's not what they did. Maybe they did. Maybe they are merry pranksters. I don't know. You know what I mean? Um, but that's a you don't prank call. I mean, most rational most rational people would not prank call the police to their residence and say there's aliens in the backyard. You know what I mean? Especially kids, and then respond like that with the whole family out there with firearms, wandering around scared out of their minds.
I think it's bullshit.
Now, let me ask you this though: do you think that it's bullshit, like they were playing a prank on the cops or everyone, or do you think that they just mistook what they saw?
I think that it's bullshit. I think they're lying. I think that they saw the meteor just like other people did, and they decided to craft this entire story around that.
I mean, that's one way to spend the evening.
Kids steal cars on for TikTok all the time. I mean, they do shit like this. They do shit like this. Kids do shit like this.
But there's more than one. There's more than one witness there.
Not to the aliens. Well, there is, but there's not more than one witness now coming forward. Like, the other family members aren't making fucking YouTube channels. How do I get famous on the internet? Let me fake an alien encounter in my backyard. A kid in that age range is going to do that. That is definitely within reason. I think it's bullshit. But I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see them. I'm not impressed, though.
Well, you're a very hard woman to impress.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yes, you are. Okay.
I'm not. I'm not. I just there needs to be something else. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so it crashed. Where did it crash? Where's the crash
That's
at?
not we I think using the word crash may be a little presumptuous.
Then why would they just be hanging out in the backyard? What would be the so if they landed there, there was a reason why they landed there. This is intelligent life that you're talking about coming from a whole other fucking planet that we can't see, right? Because the planets that we can see right now, we know have no life on them. So they're so fucking smart that they came all the way here, okay, crashed and or landed in somebody's backyard. There's no spaceship, there's no debris from said spaceship, and then didn't make contact with anybody. Hit around a bulldozer for 20 minutes while these people screamed at them and then fucked off into the sunset.
Yeah, I mean, so here's what I would like to see. I would like to see more. I don't know why we're not in that backyard now. I want to know why there's not like okay, so TMZ's covering this story. You have all these different reporting agencies covering the story, right? Why isn't anyone going back into the backyard with the family asking them, okay, what did you see? Where was it standing? Looking for depressions in the lawn, right? Looking for some kind of leftover physical evidence. What's also interesting is that, yeah, this you mentioned earlier, this happened in April. This happened on April 30th. And I mean, that's well over a month ago.
Yeah, going into May.
So why didn't nobody came forward? Now I understand maybe there's it takes a hot minute for the police to come forward. I want to know how this story broke. Was it this kid going on YouTube with his story, and then the police dash cam, the police body cam footage came forward? Like, I guess maybe that's something that if people were to take it upon themselves to research, that would be a good question to ask. What were the events? Because this story, when these stories come forward, they just kind of are everywhere. And you'll see it in Huffington Post, you'll see it on Twitter, you'll see it on this place, you'll see it on that place, and then it kind of spreads like wildfire. And then the next thing you know, people are messaging you on Instagram about it at fucking 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, right? So, but how did this story first make the jump from a police call that happened, right, to now being a viral news story? That I think that's important. Did the police come forward with this, or did the kid? And then did the kid come forward, and then someone, Freedom of Information Act, requested the police dash footage or whatever, and then that's how this happened? How did this happen? Right? Um, that to me is an important question, I think, too. Where did this story come from? Because the timing with all this UAP stuff right now is fucking perfect.
Well, and that
With the
could be it.
whistleblower and everything, you could not ask for a more perfect timing for the story to break. But this story is about an incident that happened over a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
So that's odd too. Is everyone just kind of sat on this? You know?
I know, I think that probably a publication was like, "Oh, aliens are hot right now. Let's go dig up an alien story." And they did. And then it just just like anything that goes viral, got caught up in the whirlwind of the UFO community. I don't really know. I don't really know how the story
Yeah.
broke. I
Oh,
don't
I
really
don't need. I
care
don't
because I
either.
think it's bullshit. So I don't. I'm setting down unless something massive comes through about the story. I am putting it in my bullshit catalog and throwing it in the trash. That's how
Right.
I feel about it. And the whistleblower. We'll talk about that a little bit more because somebody, I guess, I didn't make it clear last week. Somebody said they were curious about my thoughts on the whistleblower. Well, I did watch the interview finally, and so this guy is saying that we have craft from out of this world. They're non-human, and we also have bodies, but he has never seen any of them. So this is all secondhand information that his buddies within the government told him. And so that's the information that he's coming forward with. I'm not surprised to hear we have craft. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me into trouble, but
I'm going to ask you point blank. What do you believe in? You host a podcast called On Wednesdays We Talk Weird.
mhm,
What kind of stuff what weirdness do you believe in? What do you believe in?
What do you mean? Like, I believe in aliens and I believe aliens are here. I believe they've visited people. I believe alien abductees. I believe that they still come here. I don't know why. I believe that the government probably does have craft. And I believe that the government probably has recovered bodies at some point in time. But I believe that that's their knowledge and that's it. I believe what my whistleblowers tell me. And it's that, guess what? This technology is so far beyond us, we're afraid to fuck with it, and we're afraid to tell the regular people that we have it because we don't know exactly what it is that we have. That's what I believe, because that's what, people who know how the sausage is made has told me. You know, but I can't come on record and go, well, I know that all of this is real and you all should believe me because it's me, because that's not really fair or right to say that without having evidence to back my shit up like this guy's doing.
So with the whistleblower, I'm sorry. I thought you were starting to say that you didn't think that he necessarily had, because all his information was
It
secondhand.
is all secondhand. That's fact.
Right.
He is who he says he is. What he's saying, I believe is true, but again, I don't care. We've been saying this for many, many years. I've said it. I've said it exactly what the fuck he said in that interview. I've said right here on this show. I've said it right here on the show because it's been told to me by people that work at the base. And I'm just laughed at and told I'm nuts. But now we should take this fucking guy seriously. So maybe I'm just a little bitter.
Yeah, I think that's coming across pretty clear. If you want to
Yeah.
vote, we'll put up a Twitter poll when this episode drops, and we'll let the audience vote on it.
You think Asher's is bitter because she won
Yes,
an interview on News Nation.
bitter. I think she bit him too. Yeah,
Like I said, I don't care. It's not new information to me. It's not new
you
information
know,
to you guys either. It's just that maybe it's new to you because you weren't familiar with the topic, but it's not new. Guess what this guy goes on and says? He goes on and says that this material is made up of metal that we don't really know the properties for. Okay, so it's metal part of the periodic table of elements that we haven't identified.
right.
We don't really know what it is. It ain't ours though. It's not natural. It's not something that we know of right now to date. Um, and then those materials make up something else that does things that we can't possibly understand because we don't even understand what the fuck it is. That's it. That's all he's saying. He further goes on to say he doesn't want to call them extraterrestrials because he believes that it's not so much about being from space or from another planet, it's more about being from another dimension. Who the fuck's been saying that this whole time?
I mean, that was the plot of Indiana Jones and the King of the Crystal Skull. Like, that's not.
It's been
I don't
happening.
think anybody gets to claim to fucking be the author of that hypothesis. That's kind of standard by this point.
But he
For
is
people,
trying to claim to be the author of this hypothesis, and that's the problem. Is that
no,
this guy's trying to take fucking credit for something that's been said since Bob Lazar's been around, at
I
minimum.
mean, yeah, I don't see how he can be. You can't claim to be the author of, like, oh well, I think that they're from another dimension and not from outer space. It's like, yeah, that's exactly, like I said, that is what fucking Indiana Jones and the King of the Crystal Skull is about. That's not new information. Like, that's a widely held hypothesis, right? I don't know how he could claim to be like the first one to fucking make that theory. I don't know. This is
He's not, but that's what everybody's acting like, and so it makes me angry. Because again, this isn't new information. You guys, if you've never heard this before, you're not fucking listening. You're not listening. You might listen to this show. Fuck, maybe you've been here since the beginning. Maybe you listen to other shows, but you're not listening if this is new to you. That annoys me. Do better.
well,
We're talking about alien
hopefully
life here. It's bigger than fucking.
hopefully that's none of our audience that you're belittling. It's the people that don't listen to the show that don't know that don't know the difference.
Nope, some of
I
it's our audience. I'm disappointed.
okay. Oh my god. Why don't you tell them they all got small dicks too? Just fucking get it out there. You small cock motherfuckers.
Hey, it might
Don't
tell we got
listen. Don't,
small dicks.
yeah. Oh my god. You're so contemptuous. Why do you hate this? These are the people. This is the whole reason that you get to go to conventions and sell T-shirts to people.
No, it's
Like,
not. The whole reason I get to go to conventions does not have to do with the show. It's because guess what? I've been saying for many years that the government has alien craft, that we're too stupid to fuck with it, and that these things are interdimensional. That's why I get to go to these things. I mean, my God, it's I just I'm annoyed with it. I'm annoyed with it. So this is why I'm unimpressed by the guy. I guess to regular everyday Joes that don't believe in any of this stuff, and if this is absolutely your first time hearing any of this, um, good on you. It's a good start. But this again, if you're new to this, if you were not aware, this is something that's been said for a very long time. This is not new.
so if to put a more positive spin on this, to light a candle instead of curse the audience's darkness. If anything, the fact that you have been saying this for so long, that these are widely held theories that have worked their way into all forms of pop culture, including Indiana Jones movies, that means that there's a fairly good chance that this whistleblower is telling the truth.
He probably is. Yeah.
So that's the official on Wednesdays we talk weird stance. Not you're a fucking idiot, shame on you for asking me. It's that yes, he's probably telling the truth. This stuff is all probably pretty legit. And it doesn't really challenge the narrative too much. And that hopefully now with it finding a larger audience, at least people are waking up. We can say, hey, you should have been paying attention a long time ago when Harrison Ford made a movie about this shit. But whatever, it's not when you get to the party; it's just that you're here. So,
I don't know. If
congratulations.
everybody's already at the party, too fucked up to conversate, which is me right now. And didn't even know that you came. I don't know. I'm just like I said, I'm annoyed with it. I'm annoyed that people are acting like this is new. This is the whole disclosure thing. I really am. I don't give a fuck about the disclosure movement. We're never going to learn anything. That's my stance on it. This has happened before. Nothing happened then. Nothing will happen now. And that's just how I feel about it. I mean, until they go, you know what? Yes, we've been lying. Here's the craft. And I'm not going to. Um, I remain unimpressed, unmoved, and unchanged. I don't give a fuck about Arrow. Don't care.
Yeah.
Like the beard, it's the beard to the actual, and that's what the guy was saying. Like, it ain't Arrow. There's a whole separate fucking program, a whole separate super top secret program that nobody knows anything about. That's what he's saying, and he's right.
I heard I don't know. I don't even want to get into it with you because I don't want to argue about shit. Um, we'll see what happens. I mean, this is something where history will prove it one way or the other. You know, we'll see what happens next week.
History won't prove it. The only way it'll ever be proven is if the aliens come and tell us.
No, I'm even wrong about that. I'm trying. I'm trying to take a step back and be like, well, we'll see. And you're like, God damn it, Pato. No, we won't.
We won't, though.
We won't.
We won't. Mark my fucking words, Pato. On your deathbed, you'd be like, God damn it, she was right. We never learned. Or until when the aliens come and then they're like, hey, we're here. And you're like, God damn it, she was right. One of these days.
The very last thing I say before I go to bed every night, and the very first thing I say when I wake up every morning is, God damn it, Ashers is right.
Yeah, I know.
It's how I.
It sucks to be right, you guys. I want there to be some big fucking smoking gun breaking news. Listen, nobody wants it better than I do, but this ain't the way to go about getting it. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Reminds me of the movie 12 Monkeys and the curse of Cassandra, who is a tragic Greek figure, much like the Goatman that we're going to talk about in today's episode.
Sure.
And she was cursed with knowing, because the gods always, like, humans ask for things from the gods and the gods give it to them, but they fuck with them about it, right? So Cassandra was given the ability to know the future, but the downside to it was that no one would believe her when she tried to tell them.
Yes.
So, and when you think about it, the ability to know the future becomes pretty pointless once you take away anybody's believing you when you try to tell them about shit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those Greek tragedy fuck you things, rolling the boulder up the hill. And I think about that a lot. I think about that a lot about what's the point of me being the smartest person in this situation, or what's the point of me, having these instincts or doing this and that when I'm surrounded by people that just do not listen to me about any of it. And I just have to quietly be there and somehow take silent satisfaction and knowing the right thing to do while everyone else just does the complete opposite anyway. And you're just like, okay, well, I guess this is fun.
Yeah,
This is nice.
it's well, and that's how it is. You can know these things, you can know them, but the only way you're going to be able to get other people to know them is for them to experience them. So it's kind of like a personal hell that you live in when you have an encounter with the strange, because there's no doubt in your mind, right? You were there, you saw it, you experienced this weird thing that you experienced, you know that it happened to you. But just because you know that it's real, doesn't mean that you can convince anybody else that it is. And, right now, the stage for these topics, for these fringe sciences, I believe that we're in, is community building, because eventually you're going to get to a point to where you have all of these fucking people that go, look, something strange is going on here, and we're going to one day outnumber the people that go, no it isn't. And that is when we will be able to have these things looked at seriously underneath the scientific scope for real. um, because if the US government, like I said, I don't think they know shit about these things. I don't think they know anything about it. And that's my personal belief. They know just a tiny bit more than us, just because like they know that they have craft, right? And they know exactly,
Mhm.
kind of, not exactly what they are, but they kind of know what they are. But I think that stops there. But if they were to open that up and be like, hey, look, this is what we have, and they share that information, then we could go on and we could have actual private organizations putting funds towards really digging in and finding out what these things are. um, Most scientists don't work for the government. They just don't. They work for privately funded organizations and causes, and that is where scientific breakthrough happens. Sometimes the government gives money to those organizations, sometimes they don't.
This is a very good observation. I'm glad you said that. And you're redeeming
Yeah.
yourself now for whatever that was earlier. Um, yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Most scientists do not work for the government. That's a good concept to kind of keep in the back of your head. And as someone that works for the government himself, um, the best people don't work for the government.
Right. Right.
All contracts go to the lowest bidder. Um,
Yeah.
if you are an extremely smart motherfucker, and you're chasing the money, you're going to go into the private sector. You're not going to go to do government work. The people that go to government work are people that are either patriotic and care about the mission and good for them, right? Or maybe they're a little misguided, but most of them are probably C plus B minus students. That's the reality of it, and maybe I'm really kind of swinging with that one, but I think you get what I'm going with. Yeah, I think the sooner we can involve the private sector into researching this stuff, the better.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, and that needs to be the goal. That should be what we're pushing for, not to have the government give us answers. So that's where I'm at. That's my team. And that's what I would like to do. Is see a world where we start taking these things very seriously in a scientific way, because I think that there is a
it's a shame that it's maybe what your push should be is to start like a more ethical move on, because that's really what this thing needs, right? Is an independent research body that's kind of manned by volunteers, where you can have people dedicating their time to researching this stuff and doing kind of the legwork and stuff.
Mhm.
But the problem is that so many people have issues with that organization, and I don't even pretend to understand what. I just know MUFON bad, and that's a very basic understanding. It might not be all chapters, it might not be all everything. I don't know if there was racism or shit involved or whatever. Go look it up. I honestly don't know, but I know that like people have issues with that organization, and it's a shame because that would be what you would want, right? You would want an independent, like you said, science. Not all scientists work for the government. Okay, well, here is a nationally recognized organization that has a database of information that they can pull from, right? That has name recognition, where people, your average person on the street, if they Google "who do I report a UFO sighting to" or something, maybe they'll come across that. Um, yeah, it's a shame that that organization isn't held in the regard, isn't held in that high of a regard, you know what I mean? But I guess
It is.
I don't know, you still see him speak and stuff, weren't they at with Phil?
So some people were, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
no, okay, so I'm gonna tell you right now, move on's terrible. Just for the basic fact, this is why MUFON bad. For me, is because MUFON believes that it owns the stories that it receives. Okay. So it takes ownership of these encounters, which is bullshit because you can't own people's experiences. And also, um, because they are in it for the money, right? And also because they throw out anything that could be even slightly considered paranormal, which is just very bad science
Okay,
as far as this goes.
maybe leave that stuff off to the side here, but we need something with we need a nationwide organization
Hmm.
that that does collect this info. Like, what do they get right? I guess. Like, okay,
Well,
so we don't like their model. They make some bad choices. There's been bad people associated with them in the past. Okay, we're gonna do a reboot. This is what we're gonna do because we know people all over the country.
but hold on. So there are other organizations. The problem is that there are many, 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 many other organizations. So
Hmm.
so human ego gets in the way of actual scientific advancement. People want to be the top dog in UFO research. And so they go off and they create their own little group. There's tons of these little groups all over the whole fucking world. And they want to be the head person in their own little group. And then all of these little groups never include any actual scientists, which I get it. Look, you can be extremely extremely educated in a topic. You could probably even do that job without needing that little piece of paper from university saying that you can do that job.
Right.
But we need scientists. We need people with those pieces of paper. And so, because we can't even get along in our own community, we can't even like form together in our own little community here. They don't want nothing to do with us. Real people that are actually into this and actually have some type of degree backing them and their credibility don't want anything to do with any of this. You need a fucking physicist to start one of these groups. You need to start there. You need your head people to be, physicists and astrophysicists and you need all these people that have degrees to start one of these groups. And then the people that actually go out and interview the witnesses and stuff, those need to be your investigators. Those need to be your regular run of the mill investigators because we're good at that. We're good with the people. And they're not so much usually when you're a smart motherfucker to the point that you have a damn good degree in some type of scientific study, you're not good with people typically. And just saying that's just kind of across the board. Smart fucking people usually have some type of neurodivergence to where they're just awkward. There's something going on with them where they're not very sociable and they can't really communicate well and stuff like that. So you need your investigators and talking heads still. And I mean, there's a place for all of us. We could do this, but like I said, it needs to start with somebody from the top down. And nobody wants to be under anybody because, again, they want to be the person. So, anyway, I'll stop my rant on that now.
I was
I
I
agree with
almost
you. Yes.
I almost brought up in the news section today another podcast that I was listening to that did a really good episode for Pride Month, and it's the Data Over Dogma podcast, and it's run by this guy Dan McKellen, who's a TikToker, who he's got a lot of pieces of paper about biblical scholarship, and he likes to do these TikTok videos basically disproving the crazy book of revelation videos that people make, or oh, the Euphrates River dried up and now three angels are going to be released and all this stuff, and we're in the end times, or the people that misquote the Bible to try to condemn homosexuality, which is actually what this week's episode is about, right? For Pride Month they're doing. He does this podcast where I mean he's pro faith, but he's a man that has studied that era, that region of the world, that piece of antiquity going back thousands and thousands of years. He knows the actual science behind the history of Southwest Asia and all that stuff, right? And he was talking about how the Bible, and this week's episode is about, does the Bible condemn homosexuality and what does it actually say, and all this stuff. And one of the things that he talks about is how a lot of it had to do with social structure and how men were always supposed to be at the top of the social structure and the penetrators. And for a man to be reduced to being the penetrate-e, kind of fractured how society was built. And that's why it was so threatening to those early civilizations. But it also, a lot of the Bible was written by small towns, I guess you would say, of that region,
Mhm.
Southwest Asia. If you look at and they're always condemning the big cities, right? They're condemning places like Babylon. They're condemning places like Assyria, where homosexuality was ran rampant, was more prevalent. Well, I mean, look at New York versus Nebraska, right? Anytime you have a large population center, you're going to have more of it versus when you have these kind of sequestered small towns where it wasn't as common, they weren't exposed to it, and they were more fearful of it, right? So that was something that still exists today. Anyway, he was talking about how society back then didn't even want a woman to be on top in sex, and that's why the whole Lilith. I don't know if you've ever heard the mythology behind
Oh
Lilith,
yeah.
Adam's first wife. How the reason she was banished from the Garden of Eden is because she wouldn't have sex beneath Adam. She wanted to be on top of him during sex, which totally going on another fucking. I don't mind that at all. That's my. I don't know why people have issues with that because I like it when a chick's on top. But
I don't think
that
I've ever
was
met a man that has an issue with it. I don't know. I
I
didn't know that was a thing.
back then there was a lot of them. I guess Adam, the very first man, had an issue with it, and that's why they ran Lilith out of the Garden of Eden. And actually, there's something in ancient Jewish, I don't know if it necessarily made it into the Bible, but texts that they found, like Dead Sea Scroll type shit from back in that era, right? Oh, like thousands and thousands of years old, and it said something about how if you let a woman have sex with you on top of you, that it will give you diarrhea.
It would give you diarrhea?
Yes, it'll give the man diarrhea.
Okay.
That she will make you ceremonially unclean. It will cause you to have diarrhea, and it should be avoided at all costs. And I said all of that because you just said someone's got to be on bottom.
Someone's got to get diarrhea.
And that's where my head went to. And I guess the point, the very very roundabout point that I'm trying to make. Some people just can't be on bottom. Some people it leads to the death of society to be on bottom. I'm fairly switched. I'm a little bit. I'm more of a top. I'm more of an aggro, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a switch. Some people aren't. Some people, I think they can't relinquish control. They can't let someone else take the lead. It's got to be them. And even if their instincts are terrible, even if they're completely moronic, they still must be in charge. And I agree. I think if any type of organization is going to flourish, and that's what we need right now, is an organization to flourish. And maybe it's already been created, or maybe we're going to create it, or maybe someone on the audience is going to create it, or whatever. One of the things that we needs to be in the forefront is not necessarily having to be on top, that we have to make room for different thoughts and ideas and intelligences.
Yeah, people need to
You're
let
not
their
going to get
people voice.
diarrhea from being on bottom. It's fucking
Right. Exactly.
it's an old
Exactly.
wives' tale.
We're all good at something. We all have something to offer as a community. And we need to stop trying to be the one person that's good at everything because it's not possible. And work together to come up with, everything. You can't, no scientific discoveries made by one person. I guess you do have some freak accidents here and there, right? But the majority of them are made by a whole ass team of people. And that's what we need is a whole ass team of people that are willing to share ideas and get along and set aside their dumb egos to actually make something out of all this. And if you're somebody who just refuses, then I mean, I don't know. I don't want you sitting at my table. So we're all switches at my table. Sorry. But anyway, we gotta stop having hour-long intros. I don't know what's going on here. Goatman's interesting, and I'm excited to talk about it. God damn
Let's
it!
do it. Tell me
Um,
about Goatman.
so the Goatman, Pat Overview. Besides Heather Mosier, had you heard about the Goatman prior?
I mean, I knew what satyrs were. I knew kind of the pan stuff. I play D&D, so yes, I was familiar with the creature, but I guess I didn't know about like what is it, the Poplik monster. I didn't know about, like, I guess the actual nuts and bolts sightings and stuff that happened. There was 14 people that were supposedly killed by one in 1965. Like, I found way more on this than I thought. And then there was all the rape stuff too that I mean we'll get to when we get to. Um, yeah, you know what? If you would have asked me this question last week, I've been like, yeah, I know what the Goat Man is. And after spending this week researching this, I could say, you know what? I don't really think I know what the Goat Man is. So why don't you bring me and the audience up to speed?
That's very honest of you. I respect the hell out of that. Yeah, so the Goatman is there's different variation. Okay, there's not really different variations of the Goatman, but there's different goat men out in the world when you're talking about it from a potentially cryptozoological, potentially supernatural perspective. But the gist of it is that it is a part part man, part goat. And what we mean by that is not so much like Pan has the upper body of a man, horns, but goat legs. It's not that. It's like a bipedal goat person.
Mm-hmm.
And people have claimed to see this thing. The only I mean, really, when you talk about it and you talk about the individualized legends, because there's a couple of like main areas, which was kind of how I was going to break down this episode personally, was just talk about the demographics and kind of what's going on in that area. It sounds very urban legendy, right? um but when you go back and you look at goat people, I mean, they've been in our history since fucking forever.
Mm-hmm.
So is there something to this? Should we even entertain the idea? Well, absolutely. I- I'm here for it. I'm not here for a Las Vegas family and aliens in their backyard, but I'm here for Goatman. So call me crazy. But that's the basics. And again, every area of this thing kind of has a different story. So I guess we'll start with the Poplik monster itself, because that one's closest to both of us, I think, physically, right? So the Poplik monster lives allegedly on a train trestle in Louisville, Kentucky, along Poplik Creek, which is why it's named the Poplik monster. Um, this one seems to be a little bit more supernatural in nature rather than like a physical being. So sometimes people say that, if you drive underneath the train trestle there, it will jump on your car or cause your car to stop, or, you'll just at minimum hear weird noises out in the distance. However, the ominous side to this is that people claim that this thing lures people up onto the train track like a siren, either, like a siren or with mimicry or through some type of hypnosis, and then it causes people to get hit by trains and die. But here's the kicker of it: people do go up there and get hit by trains and die a lot, actually. Happens a lot. Probably because of this creature. But maybe not for the reasons that you think, more so because they're dumb. and then when I
And they're up there looking for it, and then they get trapped on the bridge, and the train comes.
right. I mean, this
Yeah.
case is kind of, chicken or the egg, is, is it the creature luring them up there, or is it their own stupidity that does it? Who knows? Pato, what do you think about the public monster?
Um, I think that there's what we're gonna look at today. There's like three camps. There's all the ancient Greek mythological stuff, right?
Hmm.
There's these kind of things like this, which are like supernatural lovers lane stories, right? And then there's especially when we get to the rape stuff, um, there's there might be someone that just has a goat mask that kills people with an axe. You know, I think it could be one of the three. This I think is like the supernatural, like legend, like local folklore thing.
Yes.
The urban legend, and there's a couple of those. But yeah, that's all right. I'm gonna stick to just answering your questions. You can go.
What did the rape axe situation come into play with the public monster? Because I couldn't find anything about
No,
why people think this thing carries an axe, and I couldn't find anything about rape. So when I looked up Goatman rape, I got bestiality videos. So don't look up Goatman rape.
or do look up Goatman rape. Yeah, or I know there was a terrible story out of India where like a bunch of people gang raped a goat and it was pregnant and it died. Um, which like I don't know what to say, man.
What does that have to do with Goatman?
Because that's what showed up when I googled
Oh
it too.
yeah,
I know
okay, fine,
I'm
yeah,
sharing in your pain.
I gotcha. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's horrible. Yeah, it's no, it's you don't just don't Google it.
Well,
I don't
the
want to.
the Maryland folklore has to do more with a with like the serial killer type guy.
Okay, I mean we'll get there. Like I said, I'm breaking it up
Yeah.
with demographics. I'm
Okay.
asking, are any of these related to the Poplik monster?
Oh no, I think it's regional. I think because it's almost different explanations for each one. Like I don't think this is a species of cryptid that exists in the wild. I think that it's something that I don't know what. I think it could just be legend, urban legends too. You
Yeah,
know?
that one sounds very urban legendy to me.
Yeah.
Um, so moving on to the next one, that's also very supernatural, very similar, is the famous Goatman's Bridge in Denton, Texas.
Okay.
And so the Goatman's Bridge is kind of so when you Google the Goatman, the things that are going to pop up for you are going to be Maryland or the Goatman's Bridge. Those are going to be like the top ones. So Denton, Texas Goatman is definitely a top contender there. There's just it's a footbridge now, just an old bridge in Alton, Texas. But this one is definitely a lot more supernatural. Sometimes when people describe this thing, as opposed to maybe some of the other sightings, this is like a goat's head on a man's body.
Hmm.
And it kind of has a lot more background to it. I mean, people always have some type of story about why this thing visits, but with the one in Denton, like one of the big stories is that like there was a black goat farmer and he was hung off the bridge by the KKK. And when they went to go pull his body up, they just had the rope. They'd never found his body. And now he maybe comes back as this thing and tries to get his revenge, or maybe he called this thing in some death pact or something. So it's like steeped in some type of like racially driven story. There's also stories that it was part of a circus.
Yes, the train crashed
Train
and somebody.
crash, yeah,
Yeah.
escaped. The Maryland story, I wasn't going to get to yet, but we'll just go ahead and say it since we're talking theories. It's part of a experiment where a doctor spliced his DNA with a goat creature, and now he's Goatman, which isn't possible. So it's just ridiculous. But the Denton one is definitely a lot more supernatural. They say if you knock on the bridge 3 times, the Goatman will appear, or whatever. People have tried to go and contact it, spirit box sessions on the bridge and whatnot. Nobody's ever caught anything viable. But that is the basically the Goatman's Bridge. I mean, it'll come get you. I don't think it's ever really gotten anybody, but it'll come get you. So, anything on the Goatman's Bridge, Pato?
Nope.
Okay,
Sorry, I was waiting for the Maryland one.
that's okay. Also in Texas, the Lake Worth monster. which was described. This one's very interesting because there's a lot of descriptions of this thing. It was described as being part man, part goat, but with scales and like clawed hands. And what was neat about this was this story kind of got huge back. I think it was in July of 1969. Nice. Three couples were out in the Lake Worth area, and they were hanging out in the car, and this creature jumped on top of their car and even tried to grab one of the girls out of the vehicle. And so they took off away from the creature, and they went straight to the police. The police, obviously, these kids were frightened. So they saw that, but there was also an 18-inch gash on the side of the car, which kind of, helped corroborate the kid's story a little bit.
Hmm.
And the police officer came forward and, officially had said, yeah, we're looking into it because we've had a lot of reports of people seeing that thing lately. We just kind of brushed it off until now. And 3 days after that incident had happened, well, in those 3 days, tons of people came out, they flocked all over to come hunt down this creature, right? There was a cryptid posse. I love a good cryptid posse. One of my fucking favorites. And,
Right.
they came out and, they're all hunting for it, But a group of people, whole group of people, ended up seeing the creature standing by on a cliff, a little bit ways from them. And the creature threw a tire about 500 feet and let out this loud shriek, and every fucking body in that group ran away, including some people that were parts of the group were the sheriff's deputies. We're like, fuck this, we're out.
Mhm.
I believe there's even an alleged footprint of this creature. When we had Craig Woolheater on the show, one thing that he had talked about was how he got into this because of the Lake Worth monster. This was kind of like this was his patty. This was his PG film because he was young when it happened, and he kind of remembers it happening. But he thinks it's a Bigfoot. And go ahead.
Just some and not to, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that, but some of this does remind me of Lyle Blackburn's
Skateboard lizard man,
yeah.
skateboards falling.
Yeah, as far as attacking the cars go and finding cars damaged and stuff torn up, and there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But I think the main reason why he believes it's a Bigfoot is because there was allegedly a picture taken of this thing, and it's like from behind, and it's just all white. But there's no horns or anything on it, so I don't know why people would automatically go to goat. Maybe the horns are in the front, you can't see it. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe the picture's bullshit. I don't know. Maybe it is Bigfoot, and there's Bigfoot and Goatman in the same area. I don't know. You know,
Maybe it's a shapeshifter.
maybe it could be right if it's supernatural. Hell, why not? But that's interesting. It's interesting because now Texas is big, and I don't know how far away Denton is from Lake Worth at all. But it's interesting that they're both in Texas
Hmm.
and have some type of lore surrounding them. So that one's weird. That one seems more of a actual flesh and blood something or the other, right? It's physically interacting with our environment, but maybe that means nothing. You know.
All of the Goatman stories where he's wielding an axe, I don't know how to process that. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, why would anything have a fucking axe? Like, did it find the axe in the woods and it just carries it around with it? Is it like, I mean, well, we have to look at this realistically. This isn't a naturally occurring phenomenon. It's not that sometimes goat men are just born, right? Either it's paranormal and this is like a demonic thing, but that's because I feel like it's got the demonic framing device to it. When we think like, you just think of, when you think of goats and human goat things, like that just seems like a demon or something, you know.
Well,
It
there's a
seems like
reason
so.
behind that. I mean,
Yeah, and I know that goes back to they have a very long um paranormal connection. So it's like we don't really think that this could be something that would be created in nature, do we? We don't really think that there's any possibility
no.
that this is something that happens when goats are just born a certain way. Okay. So then either it's demonic or maybe, I mean, I guess I doubt it would be alien, or maybe if it comes through the same portal where random shit come through, but what's it going to be realistically? What's the explanation here going to be? If you want to believe these stories are true, okay, where it come from?
Well,
You know,
spoiler alert, I think it's an ultra terrestrial, so that's my official stance. But we'll get there.
okay. Okay.
So Maryland.
Sure.
Maryland's Goatman, like Pato says, it's kind of more human. You know,
Yeah.
apparently this it carries an axe. Even though, again, I don't understand where that comes from. I couldn't find it, but let me be perfectly honest with you. I did not spend as much time researching this topic as I probably should have. But I tried to find the axe situation. I couldn't. Maryland's Goatman, though, people claim to like find like places in the woods around the area where like clearly something is like kind of like a homeless person, like clearly something's living there. Um, there are reports of missing pets all over the place. This all kind of became a lot more popular when somebody had looked into a paper that had been written a few years prior about the folklore in the area. And Goatman, of course, was a part of it.
Hmm.
And 2 weeks after somebody had published a piece about that piece, a family came forward and said that the goat man took their puppy, and they had found the puppy a couple of days, couple weeks, sometime later, and it was decapitated, which is strange because if it were just like a coyote or something, it wouldn't just take the head and not eat it. An interesting quote from the woman, the actual woman whose puppy was taken, she said, people come here and called it folklore, and the papers made us out to be ignorant hillbillies who didn't know any better. But what I saw was real, and I know I'm not crazy. Whatever it was, I believed it killed my dog. And I love those. I love those direct quotes from eyewitnesses because it does make it. I mean, you can read, allegedly this and allegedly that, but when you hear it come straight from a person, it just feels more real. So apparently, Pato found a lot more interesting things about the Maryland Goat Man, and I'm curious. I'm sold on. I want to know what you know about this guy.
um, well, the urban legends often tell of them killing young couples in parked cars or scouring neighborhoods, killing family pets. There are also tales of them breaking into people's houses and raping victims. And many attest from the areas that they haunt, it does not matter if you're a man or woman, they will overtake you and rape you nonetheless. When teenagers whisper about goatmen, not all agree on the form that they take. Some say that the first was a man who kept goats and went mad after teenagers killed his flock, driven to seek revenge against any youngster. But perhaps the most titillating version traces the origin of Goatman back to the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. Did you come across this?
Yes.
Yeah, a sprawling USDA facility anchored by a big brick building pointed with white columns. In this version, a mad scientist is conducting experiments on a goat when something goes horribly wrong, turning him into a half man, half goat beast that is naturally hungry for blood. The stories began surfacing long ago, according to Dr. Barry Pearson, a folklorist at the University of Maryland. The earliest sightings date back to 520 BCE as the satyrs of Greek mythology, who had almost identical role despite the 3,000-year difference. So it actually, this connection to the Maryland, what is this again? Beltsville Agricultural Research Center was it's been going on for so long, and so many people um kind of talk about it, that the research center actually went on record to come out and say that they did not create a goat man, um which is kind of funny. Kim Kaplan, spokesman for the center, said, "We just think it's stupid. Maybe it's sort of fun just a little bit to be part of a local legend. Um, but I mean, it's so silly, and it's not even something that's joked about." Kaplan was also quick to poke holes in the Goatman story. Don't you think he would have retired by now? Is it his great grandson, Goatman? Is he collecting Social Security? Kaplan could not even recall when they were last goats at the center, although she surmised that it must have been generations ago. In fact, the center is mostly devoted to records and genetics. They have, for instance, kept elaborate mathematical records pertaining to what bull sperm helps produce the best milk cows. So I think that's kind of interesting that the spokesman for this agricultural center felt the need to come forward to be like, "We're not creating goat men here. Go away," because most places would just kind of like laugh it off, I think, or not do anything, um, or maybe not. I mean, do you think that? Not that I'm saying that I genuinely think that the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center in Maryland is responsible for creating goat men, but do you think that it's them actually having a spokesman come forward to address it? Do you find anything interesting about that?
No, the spokesperson didn't come forward on their own. It was good journalism. They went straight to the source and said, "Hey, what about this Goatman thing?" And they just went, oh, "That's ridiculous," you know. So no, I think that that's right on the money, and that's what it's. I mean, I said it earlier. It's science. Some scientist splices DNA with a goat. Now he's Goatman, and that's just not. It's not possible. It's just
Right.
not. It will never be possible. So I think that's. I mean, it's fun, I guess, but it's not. That's not it. If it's real and it's something's happening, it ain't that. You know? But no, yeah, like I said, no, the spokesperson didn't just contact the news and said, "Hey, I need to make a statement." I mean, they were asked directly. That was good journalism. It was good on whoever wrote that piece.
Yeah, they got them to go on the record.
Yeah, smart. It's what you should do. You know.
But I think so. Are you?
So who are they raping? I mean, that doesn't. There's
So that's the interesting part. So this was what I had just read to you. The first thing that I read was from Gods and Demons wiki,
yeah,
right?
which isn't. I mean,
Is no, but I understand. But so that came up, and I saw rape, and of course my ears picked up.
right.
So I was like, huh, and I went through and I googled Goatman rape stuff like we had talked about, and found all kinds of shit, right? But then what I found was a podcast called Uncle Monster's Spooky Time Fright Hour.
Oh,
And they had an episode 106 is entitled Sorry About This, but the Goatman Rapes. And I listened to that podcast. Now, unfortunately, that podcast does not come with a bibliography. All right. They are even worse at citing their sources than we are, if you could believe such a thing. And they brought up an incident without citation or explanation or quoting what news source they got this from,
mhm.
of something that happened in, I believe it was 1965, where there was 14 victims from the Goatman.
Okay.
And they didn't offer any more information or cite their source or anything. And I literally just listened to this afternoon, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have spent, however long it took on the internet trying to track that down. So, yeah, I don't know. The Goatman rape thing. Now, this could be one of those things where this is something that someone edited a Wikipedia page to say,
Sure.
and then people just latch onto that because it's the most salacious bit of information about the cryptid that they could find. And that's why it keeps propagating, but it actually just kind of came from nowhere. It came from one person, but people keep focusing on it because it's what they want to focus on,
Well,
right?
because it's so
Like,
ridiculous, right? So crazy.
right. But I mean, it's kind of, when you look at the legends of the satyrs, um, it's not. It is keeping with the ancient depiction of them
I agree.
as
Yeah.
as being like these devilish woodland creatures that were disciples of Pan, and that people would drink in the woods and they like to play music and alcohol and bacchanalia and people fucking and all this shit. So it's like they were kind of like loosely associated with debauchery. I mean, because that's when people were living in these ancient civilizations, they would go off in the woods and fuck around. You couldn't fuck around in town, right? That's when you would go off in the woods and you'd have your little festivals or you'd do your whatever, and people would say that these creatures would appear to them and come out and all this stuff. So I don't know. I think that tying that the modern mythology behind Goatman, tying it kind of back into that where he's a rapist or a very aggressive lover, um, it does seem kind of far fetched, but the whole thing seems kind of far fetched. The whole idea of there being a half goat, half human creature is kind of far fetched.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see that aspect of the story kind of pop back up again, even in modern day folklore.
Yeah, I definitely tried to find instances of this because of exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Because that, yeah, that tracks, with satyr behavior, but I couldn't. And, maybe it's somebody somewhere got that from somebody. Like that came from somewhere, but where? And I couldn't find anybody. Just like even the wielding the axe thing is interesting to me because I couldn't find any witnesses that said that they saw it and it had an axe. Where did that
Right.
come from?
Well, so where that comes from, which okay, so here's these are like these are the things that rhyme about this. They kind of keep popping up over and over again. A lot of the sightings for Goatmen happen with teenagers that are at lovers' lanes. So it's kids in the woods at night. There's an area where the kids go to park and fuck, kind of like way back in the day, 50, 520 BC, how people would go off into the woods to fucking drink their wine and have their little parties away from civilization. Well, what do kids do now? They get in their fucking Oldsmobile and they drive out to the edge of town by the woods and they have Lover's Lane where they all sit and they park and they fuck around in the cars and shit, right? And then they would report these crazy people that would come up to these kids in the woods and scare them off. And it would always be a serial killer with a hook for a hand, right?
Sure.
Or an axe wielding maniac, escaped mental patient, a goat man, right? And so that's where the axe thing comes in. But then they're also finding the animals being decapitated around the
Yeah.
neighborhood. And it kind of circles back to that, like, oh, it's the goat man, when it could just be fucking the neighborhood Dahmer or Otis Toole or whatever,
Sure.
right? I mean, there's plenty of those people. It's the local gay kid. that's
Say
in
that.
honor of Pride Month, you know, the the repressed homosexual in town that's taking his aggravation out on animals.
Sure.
Um, So I mean, yeah, those things, but these things kind of keep rhyming, which I think, like from a his sociological perspective, is very interesting. It's interesting the way that our folklores and our myths and stuff rhyme throughout the centuries. And Goatman is a very old image that we as a species kind of latch onto for some reason. There's something about it that captures us. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't even remember the last time I saw a goat. It was on a roof in Tennessee.
I
Like
believe that.
I don't live around goats. Goats aren't a thing for me really in Chicago. But there's something bestial and we recognize that. And the idea of a half animal, half man that could be somewhat evil and violent and have an animal penis that is scary because it's, horse dicks are big, for well, I guess big is a relative term, but um, I wonder if that probably has a part to do with it too. Is you're getting fucked by an animal? There's the fear of forced bestiality, and oh, this goat thing with hooves is gonna fuck you, and that's even more traumatizing than if a normal person did it. Um,
I never
I
really
don't know.
saw satyrs as being evil. I mean, they fuck, but they're not bad for that. Um, they're more, yes, like you said, debauchery, but I don't know. I don't like again. I didn't think it was a it was an evil thing.
Well, Astros, you and I are debaucherous, horny people. Like, of course not. We don't.
Yeah, and I would never
This doesn't
fucking kill it
phase us.
ever. There's not an amount of money on this planet you can give me to have me have sex with an animal. That just wouldn't happen. You
Okay.
know, that's just not happening.
Every man's got to have a code. I ain't gonna follow you.
What does that mean?
I mean, like, all right. Why would no one's gonna make you fucking animal? I mean, like, I don't know. All right, moving right along. I think that yeah, the
In the mythos of it, people were willingly fucking these half animal creatures. That's what I'm saying. Like, and I would not participate in that. But hey, some people got different strokes for different folks. That's all I was saying. But I don't know if that's necessarily like a fear people have. I don't like you think of like heights and spiders and the ocean even. I mean, you don't think of like, I don't know, is there like a fucking whole this big old group of people that are terrified of getting fucked by a goat? Is that a thing?
well,
No.
I mean, maybe you
It's just
could.
something I don't think about at all is what I'm saying.
I mean, they could be. It could be like a cautionary tale for women. Like, don't drink too much in the woods, or you'll be
Fucked by a goat.
susceptible to. Which could just be like code for, a goat man. You know what I mean? Like a gnarly dude, just some like gross fucking woodsman that is gonna an unattractive male, right? That women, it's not about the goat man. It's about the woman being drunk, off her guard, her and susceptible to the machinations of a evil being, of a calculating figure that's
I
going to
get
take
it. I
advantage
get
of
it.
her.
Listen, I understand. So,
Yeah,
so instead of holding the goatmen accountable for being rapists, we're going to blame it on women for getting drunk.
I don't create this shit, man. This
I'm
is
not
from.
saying you do. I'm just saying that's the message. I get it.
Oh yeah. Oh, you want to talk about 520 BCE? Like, yeah,
Yeah, fuck yeah. I get it.
100%. It
Yeah.
was it was the women's fault. Yes, yes. We've come a long way since then, though. Thankfully.
Not long enough, but yes, a long way. But it's interesting just backtracking satyrs and kind of looking into that history. Like, satyrs, like that's a stolen belief to begin with. And that's kind of funny because they actually come from the Roman fauna. And
Right.
fauna were straight up half goat, half people that were revered. Actually, they were very helpful. Um, they were good spirits, but they also were associated with fertility. But I don't think so much because they were actively having sex with humans. Um, just fertility because of they were more about helping us survive. And obviously if we can survive, then we can fuck each other and have more babies. And then fucking the Greeks came along and stole everything from the Romans, and they were like, well, we like satyrs, what should they be, and kind of changed what they were over and over and over again. So even in that span of time, like, look how much the stories have changed. So it's really hard to track the history of this thing. But the fact of the matter is that half goat, half people have been around forever.
Hmm.
And goats being a bad juju type of symbol has also been around for a very long time. And, so much so, and in such different sectors of religion that I had a really hard time tracking where goats being thrown into like evil beings, like where that even started. Like, why do we
Ooh,
believe that?
I have the tip of a theory.
Sure.
It was because of their horns were used for music. So some of the first musical instruments were horns, right? And because the goats' horns would be turned into musical instruments, and music was viewed as something that could, um, I don't want to say like, corrupt people or like make them uh, wine and song and dance and all and women and like sex and shit. That was all like the domain of Pan or Dionysus, right? And some of that stuff was viewed as being problematic, troublesome. It led people to madness, right? The idea of bacchanalia, where people would drink too much and then rip animals and each other apart with their bare teeth, which probably wasn't even a real thing, right? It was just, oh, but you get drunk and you turn into a man. My next door neighbor, he gets drunk and he beats the shit out of his wife. It must be because wine is evil, and it's not because that dude's just a fucking alcoholic. Like, people had issues with that stuff. A lot of people viewed wine and song and dance very suspiciously because of the effect that it had on people. Dirty dancing. People are dancing and they start getting close, and then now they're having sex outside of marriage, and people are cheating and blah 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 and all this other stuff. So that's what I think there might be a correlation there between the goat's horns and how they were used to create music.
Interesting.
That's what I get. Yeah.
I didn't see that anywhere, but that could be. I don't know.
Wikipedia, baby.
I'm getting well, see, I should be doing better. I fucking stand for Wikipedia. Everything else was just whatever. It just depends on the religion as to why goats are considered evil. People in general don't like that. They just don't like goats. It's weird. They think they have soulless eyes, and it kind of goes. Well, I mean, there's Christianity steeped in it. Goats are defiant, right? Sheeps aren't. Sheep are pretty docile, and they'll pretty much do whatever the fuck you want them to. Like you said, Pato, last time you saw one, it was on a fucking roof in Tennessee, because that's the kind of shit that goats do. They're like cats, but with horns.
I sent you a really funny picture, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you touched on something there. But cats are evil and fucking revered too. You know what I mean? Like, look at the Egyptians and cats.
Love their cats. Yeah, that's a good. Nice. That's a nice picture there you sent me.
You like that?
That's pretty good.
That was me in high school right there.
Well, I was going to say his dick is very pencil thin. You're not going to get much done with that thing. But
that was before I bulked up. That was actually, I shouldn't be sending you that, because
is that
yeah, I'm a little bit too young for that.
Is that the bits they had to cut away from the Mountain Dew bottle, and that's what you're left with?
That's me with the Mountain Dew. If that was prophesized by fucking the ancients, that a man would lead us who would get his dick stuck in a Mountain Dew bottle, and it's this picture of a satyr balancing a wine glass on his penis. I'm telling you, that was me. There you go. That was me after being thrust back through time.
It's like when you meet a dude and he's like, "My dick's 7 inches," and you're like, "Fuck yeah!" And then you take him home, and it's 7 inches, but it's 7 inches of pure disappointment, pencil thin. You're like, "That ain't the fuck, man."
Look at that. We gotta post this somewhere. Can that be our backdrop for this this week's episode?
No. You can't go posting dicks on social media. It's not allowed. You'll get kicked off social media.
Challenge accepted.
You do you, Pato.
You threw down that gauntlet. All right.
Anyway.
Goats are like cats. You're absolutely right.
Yes, goats. They're like cats, but like I said, they're cats with horns. So, and people don't like that. Like you said, some people can't be on the bottom. Okay.
Right.
Same people that don't like goats. I like goats. They're cool animals. They're funny. And they're not scary. Yeah, their eyes are weird, but so aren't other animals' eyes. What about fucking fish? You know, tell me that a goat's eyes are more soulless than a fish? They're not.
Yeah, but fish are like confined to the rivers and stuff. Goats wander around your camp. So you could be sitting there drunk in the middle of the night and a goat fucking walks up on you and goes, And
it's hilarious. How can you not enjoy that? I don't know. What the fuck? What's there? Now you're fucking drunk and you get to pet on a goat. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think this is just like we're so far removed from it because we don't. I think this was for a long time. This was something that mankind felt a certain way about.
I don't know why farms have goats. Do you?
Right, milk, right? You make cheese out of them or something, or you
make cheese out of the whole goat.
Goat? You never heard goat cheese? Like that's a thing.
I guess there is goat cheese, but that's the only reason. I mean, at least when you have cows, right? They have milk and meat. Chickens, they have eggs and meat. They have.
You can get goat's milk. I think in Greece was a thing. I think they're hardier creatures. Where the survivability of them is a little bit higher. right? So they're not like maybe sheep are a little bit more delicate. They don't have self-defense
Sheep
mechanisms.
have wool, so there's the money there.
Right, right. And but you have to herd them and you have to I don't know. I would just be making shit up at this point. I would think that it's like they're an easy, rugged cash crop to raise, and that
But
if you were a goat farmer,
you
because think
find
about
them
it,
at the
there's
mill.
goats in Greek,
That's the
there
product.
and there's goats in the Middle East too, like in Afghanistan and shit. There's goat farmers out there too. So they might be one of those species that's kind of adaptable, and you can raise them in different places, and they'll chill up on roofs and shit, and they're it's like, why do people have cats? Like, why would someone have 12 fucking cats? It's because you could have 12 cats and they'll pretty much take care of themselves. They don't having 12 dogs is a completely different monster. You don't want to have to deal with that. No one's going into a house where there's 12 fucking bearded dragons, right? There's fucking that's cost too much money. There's too many like heating rocks all over the place. It would cost you a fortune in crickets alone, right? But cats, yeah, they come and go, you know. Keeping with your cat
But when
analogy.
you have a farm, these aren't pets; these are money. So I didn't know what the purpose of having a goat was. Like, what resource does it provide? And I just Googled it, and come to find out, goats have a lot of purpose for their meat, because 3/4 of the world eats goat meat. Their milk,
Hmm.
their fiber, and their skins. So goats are very lucrative.
Hmm.
That was the question. So I didn't know. I don't live on a farm. I'm not a farm person. But anyway, I think goats are cool. I'd have one for a pet, but I'm weird, so and I have the scariest fucking goat there is. Scariest one. It'll be my guard goat instead of a guard dog. And it's got a fucking black as night, gigantic, jacked goat. Fucking pump it full of steroids. Leave it in my living room. Ain't nobody coming in this house.
What if the goat comes in the house?
The goat
He
man.
wants he wants little fucking ashers.
Oh god, I'll be so mad.
Like you
That's my
too.
response. I'd be so
God
angry.
damn it.
Like, God damn it, dude. That's why I bought the goat. Like, this is what don't you stop. Yelling at the goat, like, why don't you do your job? And it's like, I'm like a cat. I do what I want. Laziest fucking guard goat there is. Anyway, I don't know about these Goatman stories. There's not there's eyewitness accounts, but there's not eyewitness accounts like there is in other things like Bigfoot or even Dogman. The fucking the axe wielding thing reminds me of the Defiance, Ohio Dogman, because it had the 2x4 and it had clothes on, you know,
Yeah.
which is weird. And it's interesting to me because that's so strange. But I could actually find like reports of that. Like, I feel like I just again, it all feels very urban legendy to me. To me, it seems like it does stem from something, maybe cautionary tales. Clearly it's been around forever. I'm not going to say that Goatman's absolutely not fucking real, but um, I don't know, you guys. What do you think, Pato?
Um, I think that it the concept definitely occupies a part of the human psyche, and it has for a millennia. So there's something there, even if there's something there worth reading about, thinking about, talking about. Even if it's not necessarily physical, even if there's not a goat man that's running around Maryland, there's a reason that this is something that we keep coming back to, and I think that in and of itself, at the very least, is worth exploring.
Yeah, I think if there is something there, again, I said it earlier, I think it's an ultra terrestrial.
Yeah, there could be a planet full of them, and they pop over here sometimes.
Well, no, I don't think they look. I don't think ultra terrestrials look the way that we see them. I think that they look however our brain can perceive it, and sometimes it's in the form of a bipedal goat carrying an axe coming to rape you and your family. I guess. you
Wow.
know, that's what I think. And I'm sticking to it. Like I said, I love that woman's quote. She knows what she saw. She saw a fucking goat man. You guys, that's what she saw. Whether you believe it or I believe it, it really doesn't fucking matter. She believes that's what she saw. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what it is. I'm gonna go to this Pope Lick bridge, this Pope Lick trestle, and I'm gonna check it out. I'm not gonna get on the trestle because I'd rather not die by train. If I'm gonna die, I'd rather die by Goatman. So something cooler, I mean, but I want to go check it out. Why not? It's close. It's like 2 hours from me. Why not?
We should plan an event. Sell
Do it.
tickets.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah.
a tour. Yeah.
Absolutely not, because
Set up an
people
investigation.
will fucking climb up on the train trestle and then they'll die and then we'll be responsible. So
We'll bring an axe. We'll bring a shotgun. We'll go hunt it. Hunting the Goatman. That could be our documentary.
hunting the goat man, sure.
Let's do it.
Sure.
If you're interested in being a part of On Wednesdays We Talk Weird Films probably presents Hunting the Goatman, please get a hold of us. And where is this thing again? Where are we going? Poplick?
Louisville.
Louisville? Yeah. You know what? We can go to the Ark while we're down there.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah,
Fuck yeah, that sounds like a good weekend, man.
the whole weekend. So
I'll kill the devil and then go celebrate on Noah's Ark.
yeah, we'll take it to the ark. We'll nail it right up on it on the outside.
Throw it in the cage with the fake with a hippo
With the
that's next to the
dinosaur.
velociraptor.
Yeah.
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 And then go have all you can eat chicken fingers for lunch. We'll talk about our day. When is there a time of year where this thing manifests? I mean, we should
No.
probably say the fall just because of
Anytime,
give us time to.
whenever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go tomorrow. I'm not going tomorrow, but I'm going soon.
Jim Jam. Figure out if this is by your house.
Oh, I'm sure
Let's
they
do
got skee ball somewhere in Louisville.
Oh, it's all coming together.
Yep.
It's all coming together. Fuck yeah.
So we'll figure it out. But I'll let you guys know if we find anything. We'll let you guys know.
Yeah, to be continued. We'll talk more about this later.
But I suppose with all that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.